Excellency Ambassador Schwarzgurt, Your Excellency President Work, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's truly my great honor and privilege to be invited to European Chamber Annual Conference 2015. UCC, as Ambassador Schwarzgurt said, is very much important because the voices from Brussels could be conveyed to China. And I would say your voices are heeded. We take note of your voices, and I hope the voices would be broadcast and narrowcast to the targeted audience in China. I do appreciate your points. I very much appreciate your very positive outlook on the Chinese economy. As President-designate of AIIB, I certainly hope the Chinese economy will continue to be a boost to the regional economies and economies in the rest of the world. I also note the challenges you refer to, but I do hope we all can resolve all these kind of issues and problems, and China's integration with the rest of the global economy and China's very close relationship with the European country will be further strengthened. Today, I would like to speak to you all about my appreciation for Europe's enormous contribution to AIIB, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, the bank initiated by China and broadly participated in by the countries across the world. I also would like to encourage world-class European professionals to apply to work in this bank, and world-class European companies to bid for projects that are financed by this bank in infrastructure investment in our emerging market economy members. In our mind, the distinction commonly made between Europe and Asia probably is too stark. After all, most European and Asian countries share a common landmass, and our shared history goes back a long time. The Eurasia is such a huge landmass. Connectivity in this landmass is crucial for all of the countries in Europe, in Asia, with positive spillovers to the rest of the world economy. I vividly recall when the bank was first proposed, there were discussions about who should be invited to be a member. Some argued that probably membership would be limited to Asian countries. Anyway, this is Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. After all, they said, this was meant to be the Asian institution. However, most of the people believe that AIIB should only succeed and could only succeed if European countries and countries from other continents were brought in from the very start. This isn't because we Asians couldn't be up to the job by themselves. It simply reflects the fact that developed countries, including particularly European countries, have much more experience establishing and then running multilateral development institutions. AIIB is an open and inclusive organization, and it will be crazy for us to reject any other countries in this world and not to seek their advice in the setting up of this bank and in the running of this institution. That is why, upon my appointment nearly 2 years ago as head of the Chinese Working Group to establish the AIIB, I visited many of your capitals to inform your government of the AIIB's intended governance structure and intended policies. We told you we would really like to come and work with us. Naturally, there were lots of questions, even skepticism. Would the bank adopt international environmental and social standards? Would the procurement arrangements be fixed to benefit Chinese companies? Would the governance arrangement match those of the existing MDBs. These are legitimate concerns, and I'm not surprised to hear some of these concerns. Sometimes they are very harsh and even hostile comments on what China meant to do. But we were very calm and serene. We are very patient. For a Chinese nation with 5,000 years of civilization, patience is no problem. At the time, I assured your governments that they need not to worry at all. China do not need to set up another development bank, a la China. We already have this in the form of the China Development Bank, Exim Bank. We have huge external resources invested in across the world. Why should we bother to create a bank to be run a la China? Doesn't make any sense. Unless we want to have a different institution. It's not going to be a Chinese bank. It's not going to be a bank owned by the Chinese government. It should be a bank owned by all of the willing participating countries. Instead, I told European countries China recognized the need for a new type of development institution to finance infrastructure investment across Asia, an opportunity to do different things and to do things differently. Why infrastructure? 35 years ago, at the threshold of China's opening up, we did not have freeways. We didn't have rapid rail. We didn't have modern airports. We didn't have container berths. We didn't have supercritical power plants. We had virtually nothing. In the next 15 to 20 years' time, China borrowed foreign exchange from different sources and put these resources in infrastructure development. That is why, starting from the mid-1990s, China's economy started to take off. There were debates about the possible debt problems of China. As you may remember, in 1980, when we started to borrow, Mexican debt crisis broke out. Are we crazy borrowing foreign money to put in the roads? Are the roads going to give us foreign exchange to service all these debts? The debate was raging, but we were determined because we believe we borrow to invest. We will not borrow to sustain consumption. 35 years later, we have almost $4 trillion of foreign exchange. China never ever have any debt problems. So it's not an issue whether you should borrow or not. It's an issue how do you use the resources judiciously, efficiently, cost-effectively. Now, I'm delighted to see that we have European countries who participated in the process of setting up this bank. European countries currently represent 17 out of AIIB's 57 prospective founding members, and I expect more countries to apply to join when we start admitting new members next year. There are about 30 countries queuing for membership of this institution. These countries' contribution, European countries' contribution to the establishment process so far has been significant. I would like to briefly highlight 3 areas. First, European countries contributed to the creation of the bank's charter, the Articles of Agreement. Enshrined within these articles are the organization's core parameters, including our governance arrangements and our commitment to both operating to high international standards to an open procurement policy. Our European partners have also contributed greatly to the development of our main operational policies, including on procurement, finance, environmental, and social safeguards. These operational policies are now in their final stage of development. They have been through many rounds of discussions with all members, and final versions will be submitted to our board of directors for approval when they meet for the first time early January 16th. I'm proud to say that, in my opinion, these operational policies are as good as, and in some places superior to, comparable policies from existing institutions. We are proud of this because this is the credit to all of the member countries, particularly our European countries. I'm proud to say this is better, not because we are smarter or more intelligent than the founding fathers of Bretton Woods institutions or AIIB. This is because we learn from their experience. We build our bank on the successful experience of these institutions. We pick up their pluses and we avoid their minuses. We discussed the forthcoming COP21 climate change negotiations and AIIB's contribution to address climate change, mitigation, and adaptation. I had the pleasure of recently visiting the wonderful city of Paris in early November, the week before the terrible terrorist attacks. There, I had the honor of meeting with Foreign Minister Fabius and Finance Minister Sapin. And then I moved on to London. I met Prime Minister Cameron and Chancellor George Osborne. We had very good discussions about how we could work together to make AIIB truly multilateral financial development institution by the highest possible standards. And I have yet to visit some other countries since my election as the President-designate. The AIIB's environmental social safeguards have been developed by international experts with decades of relevant experience from existing institutions. They have been informed by consultations with prospective founding members, the public, and the private sector, and they will conform to high international standards. You do not need to fear that the establishment of AIIB will precipitate a race to the bottom in terms of standards among the international financial institutions. If anything, it is our hope that AIIB will help contribute to a general improvement in standards, a race to the top, if you like. Finally, our European partners are contributing to the staffing of our multilateral interim secretariat. This multilateral secretariat are staffed by many experts with different backgrounds, professional experience. We have Americans, we have the French, we have the British, we have the Germans, and we have other Asian countries' nationals. We are truly open. Nobody who intends to join AIIB will be rejected because of his or her passport. We look at the professional and ethical standard, track record, and their dedication to this institution. So I would like to take advantage of this opportunity to thank our European partners for your great, significant, unqualified support to AIIB. And I'm looking forward to continued cooperation between AIIB and all of the existing multilateral development institutions and all of the countries who are members or non-members. Now I have actually more than 50 applicants for the vice president positions in our bank. It's really very tough for me to select. Certainly we need to strike a proper balance between regional and non-regional nationals, and we will do that through a renowned search firm. I'm not one who would call the shots. Our decision will be based on the reference check and performance assessment of all these applicants. We expect the AIIB to be inaugurated before the end of December, with the first meeting of the Board of Governors and the Board of Directors scheduled for January. This is because of a very simple, straightforward reason. We would like all these people who have worked very hard for setting up this bank to have a happy holiday, Christmas holiday, New Year's holiday. And some people say, if you would inaugurate this bank and have the first Board of Governors meeting, this is going to ruin my marriage. I say, don't worry, your marriage is saved. We will have the meeting in January after you happily enjoy your holidays, and you deserve it. So now we are very proud, as I said, to have the best of the policy papers, policies on paper. And I can assure you, the policies will not just look beautiful on paper. They will be translated into reality on the ground. Let me stop here so that we could have opportunity for some time left for your questions and answers. Thank you very much.